All right, welcome back to Getting Sober, Again, my name is Jay, and today I have a confession to make. But first, if you haven't yet, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up before we get started. And before you finish this video, don't forget to leave us a comment. All right, let's get started.
Caution, full transparency ahead.
Believe it or not, I'm just like you. I have reservations and self-doubts. I too get lonely, bored, upset, insecure, afraid, depressed, anxious, and I sometimes get unsure of myself. I sometimes worry if this is all there is, if I'm ever going to make any more progress in life, if I'm going to be able to maintain my sobriety along with my sanity. And once upon a time, just like you, because of all these negative feelings, I remedied them with a negative solution. Care to guess what it is? You guessed it. It was alcohol. And if you're anything like me, you used to drink in excess and often. You drank to forget, to numb the pain, to come to terms with yourself and the world around you that you didn't feel like you quite fit into. Does that sound familiar? My relationship with alcohol contributed to the stunting of my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial growth, as well as my creative, romantic, and intellectual growth. If you're anything like me, you maybe wondered if tomorrow was going to be any better than today, or if there was any point to keep going, or if you were just fooling yourself. Yet somehow, because we normalized our toxic behavior and got used to the never-ending negative chatter in our own minds, binge drinking wasn't taboo, was it? How could it be when you're out every night with the same cast of alcohol-enabling characters? How did you end up in a place where you didn't care who you hung out with, where you ended up every night, how you got there, or how you even got home? You had cringeworthy moments, moments of regret, and moments that you weren't proud of. You worried your family, your friends, your coworkers, and even yourself. Does that sound familiar? Me too. So let me ask you a question. Since drinking wasn't taboo, do you think that maybe sobriety doesn't have to be taboo either? What if you had spent as much time and money as you spent on drinking, on self-improvement, on hobbies, on your work, your passion, and your talents? Since when did it become the norm to hide your pain, to struggle in silence? And for how long do we need to pretend that it's healthy to suppress our feelings? Suppressing our feelings is about as useful as bottling water on a sinking ship. Isn't one of the best parts of being human having the ability to experience feelings? Isn't it great to feel excited, to feel love, and to feel joy? Many of us gave that power to alcohol. Stressful day at work? No problem. Turn on the happy with a little bit of alcohol. Does that sound familiar? But when we think about recovery, we think, oh no, I'm gonna have to start processing all of these feelings. Oh no, I'm gonna have to process my last breakup, a funeral, a job loss, a career change, my fleeting relationships with my friends and my family members. I get it. I'm just like you. Because I also feared the worst. I also feared tough conversations. I felt enslaved to my impulses, to my desires, and I gave in as soon as I felt the slightest inconvenience that needed a little relief for myself. I also feared that I can no longer trust myself, and that I was a willing participant forever cast as a hostage to my scripted waking nightmare. I knew each day that I'd tarnished my reputation a little deeper the night before, but as I looked in the mirror each morning, I mostly recognized who I saw. I was still me, I was still alive, but I still felt like a failure. A failure by what I interpreted society's standards to be, and a failure by my own expectations. A person who was wasting this amazing opportunity called life while wasting each day getting wasted. Being no good and of no use to anyone except for my local bartenders, the corner gas station, the nearest liquor store, and the select company I chose to be a reflection of myself, who is also self-medicating on a daily basis. Like you, I too was a consumer, looking for remedies for my self-imposed imprisonment. A little bit of this to numb the pain, a little bit of this to speed things up when things were going too slowly, and a little bit of something else to slow it all down when I decided that I didn't want to play life anymore. I'm just like you in that I was afraid to try harder because I knew I couldn't count on myself. And I knew that I would continue to identify as a victim of my own demise. I worked hard so that I can play even harder because, well, life isn't fair. And what's the point of working hard in life if you can't enjoy it even harder? Am I right? I lived life without consequence. I made risky decisions. I went to jail a few times. I punched a few dudes and I kicked a few guys. I gained people's trust and then disposed of them when I couldn't get what I wanted from them anymore. I ruined my credit. I went bankrupt. I lost everything that I had worked for, thinking that I didn't really deserve any of it anyway, so it didn't really matter if I had material possessions or not. I watched people my age pass me up in life, become successful in their business, start their own families, and while I watched their lives blossom through social media, I'd feel empty, regret, and sorrow while mourning my own life that I was still living. Towards the end of my drinking days, I would start to pick up on subtle signs from friends and family, letting me know that I'd strayed from my path. Signs like the time in between phone calls getting longer. People who used to be around suddenly were busier than they had been or just harder to reach. A birthday card saying, "I hope that you find contentment or peace," or whatever it is that you're looking for externally. Now let me pause for a minute, because I know this episode is very heavy, but I'll tell you that during the timing of this particular episode happens to be Labor Day. This particular weekend is also a huge trigger for many of us. Many of us who identify this weekend as being the last weekend of summer and celebrate with a few too many beers and a little too much barbecue. It's a designated time where we're allowed to feel most alive. But on the other side of that cool, comforting pillow is a time that we see the days get shorter. We watch the sun go down faster, kids go back to school, and more rainy days. We feel the air start to change, and with it, the coldness and the darkness that slowly starts to creep in as fall arrives. We know that there are seasons in life, and with each season comes new challenges that take new preparation, new practice, and new patience. And for me, 3 years ago today, this season is the one that my dad died and my relationship of 8 years came to an end. You see, trauma can physically be relived and can unwillingly shake you down to your core. Memories, both good and bad, can consciously or subconsciously throw you out of your well and newly constructed rhythm. Positive changes can easily be derailed by unexpected grief. People, places, and things can evoke emotion from you even if you decided that you were over it. Yet, just as much as you'd like to pretend that things are just fine, you're very aware that as your brain and body are saturated with the stress hormone called cortisol, that you may be lacking better tools to deal with and cope with said stress. We are flawed. We are human. We love, we lose, we learn, and we forget. And just like you, I forget that temptations can arise at our moments of weakness. And just like you, I forget that no matter how prepared we can be for any journey, life will catch us off guard and we will be unwillingly tested once again. Right now, in this community, we have members who are struggling with their lives and identities. And if you happen to be one of those people that are struggling, know that you aren't alone. You see, we aren't that different after all. Whether you've been sober for 20 years or 20 days, we all deal with temptation, insecurities, and fear. We all have to deal with that voice inside of our head that says that you'll never make it. You can't make it. You won't make it. It's impossible. But you can't spell impossible without I'm possible. So whatever's been holding you back from becoming a better version of you, this is the time right now to remind yourself that it's in fact possible. And that all you need is a little bit of discipline and a little bit of encouragement. So here it comes. Are you ready? Your future self is waiting for your current self to stop acting like your past self. Yep. So here's another question for you. Are your bags packed for the future life that you wish to have? Or are they filled with the pain and trauma of all the old memories that remind you of why you can't or shouldn't get there? Stop finding reasons why you're going to fail and start turning your obstacles into opportunities to succeed. There is no perfect journey. Everyone who chooses self-improvement has a slip-up, a day off, a relapse, a detour, a cheat day, whatever you want to call it. The point is that you practice positivity along this journey, to not forget to show some gratitude for your improvements, small, large, or anything in between. That you find the silver lining, that you turn that ability that you had to enable yourself to make worse decisions to the foundation of enabling yourself to make better decisions that will carry you to the next level in life. Stop saying, I hope, and start saying, I will. Just because you couldn't doesn't mean that you no longer can't. Just because you didn't see it before doesn't mean it won't be a possibility in the future. And just because you've spent so much time going backwards in life doesn't mean that it's too late to start going forward. And just because you didn't believe previously doesn't mean that it can't be true today. Now, before we lower the landing gear for this particular episode, let me remind you of the structure of the hero's journey. You're the hero. First, the hero's ordinary life is disrupted by a call for adventure. Sound familiar? Second, the hero has to overcome ordeals and defeat enemies during their quest. Finally, they return home transformed. What stage of the hero's journey are you in? Comment below. And remember, you are the author of your own story, and it's time to write the next chapter. And with that, I want to remind you to be kind to yourself. And I want to wish you good luck on your sobriety journey, and I will see you in the next video.